Coming to you from my basement in beautiful Chicago, this is LesCast. I am your host, Amanda Costner. We are recapping Season 3, Episode 9 of the thelwordgenerationq. Last Dance is the title. With me today is somebody who is followed by Rosie O'Donnell on Twitter. Is it Twitter? It's Twitter, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was Twitter or TikTok. You know her. Did you say both?
Yeah, both.
Oh, wow. That just dropped here. Wow. TikTok and Twitter? Oh, my God. Okay. You know her from her YouTube channel or maybe from her podcast, Drinks at Dana's. Make sure you keep a lookout for a very cool episode they're dropping this week with Im Weinstein, who directed a lot of the episodes this season, and Jill Maxey, the first assistant director over on GenQ. Please welcome to the pod, Ash Silver.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
What's it like to be best friends with Rosie O'Donnell?
I mean, I don't want to betray her trust by revealing any secrets.
I assume it's just a friendship and,
Yeah, I keep my sources, anonymous and protect them all.
Okay. All right. Well, Ash, for an entire season, you have been my little L word psychic. Of course, you have all the scoop on what's been going down. And now I get to have you here to recap this episode with me. Now, for the few people who aren't, make sure you're catching all of Ash's daily videos and her lives. You learn so much from these videos and get so much insight. I know that you're do you consider yourself what, a soft Tibeter? Is that accurate? Are you a hard Tibeter?
Yeah, I mean, I really, really love Betteandtina. Like that's always been the draw of the show to me. But I I think, I mean, I'm sure some people would probably say that this isn't true, but I do like to think I can think critically about things.
Who would say that? I'll fight them.
Like I realize that they are not perfect people nor a perfect couple. That doesn't exist. So I can recognize their flaws, let's say. But in my heart of hearts, it's literally since I watched the episode, or since I watched the show when I was 16, 17 with my first girlfriend. I didn't even know any other L word people. I was watching the show in secret. Like we really gravitated towards Bet and Tina. Like the second that they flashed on screen, I was like, oh my God, these people are real. And I just really, really connected with them. And it's I mean, I love Danny and Gigi and people like that too. But if somebody put, me on the spot, it is about Bet and Tina mostly for me. But I love everybody else too.
You telling me how much you love them made me think about all the people who hate them. And I was wondering, so I'm mid on them. I'm happy to see them come together, but I'm not like Jennifer Beals, who's been campaigning for them to end up together for Lord knows how long. I'm like, oh, okay, let's see where this goes. Oh, great, they're ending up together. Great, why do you think the people who hate them hate them? What is there to hate? Oh, the cheating? Everybody cheats on this show.
I think as well they do, you talk to people who love them, they don't get enough attention, and then people who don't like them say they get too much attention. And this is something that I tell people in my real life, clients, people on YouTube. There is always going to be someone, or more likely someones, that don't like you. There's just always going to be someone who looks at you, turns on your channel, whatever it is, and they're immediately, within 1 second, just gonna say, "Oh, I don't like them." Like it's something in the wiring that you just don't connect or whatever it is. So I think there are some people that just probably are like, "I don't like the way they say this word. I don't like the way they look, or I don't like their behavior." But I think I mean, I do have quite a few people on my channel who and I really love this, and I love that they come to a channel that talks so much about Bette and Tina, and even some of my patrons, they can't stand Bette and Tina, and that's normally where I get, like, a lot of the really good conversations because it's someone with an opposing view as opposed to just somebody going, "Oh, yeah, I love them too, I love them too." So, I do enjoy, like, talking to people about all types of thoughts on the subject, but I do think some people are just, like, over the the break up, make up, break up, make up, break up, make up.
Yeah, maybe they're just, like, sick of them. They're like, "Get me off this ride."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
are you kidding me? You broke them up again between in the off-screen time between the reboot and the OG, and now, okay, you're gonna get them back together again? Oh, no, okay, yeah, so, like, I can see maybe people being, like, over it.
yeah, yeah.
But Ash, nobody has ever stumbled upon my YouTube channel and been like, "Nope, not for me."
No, same, same, I mean, same. I am universally loved.
When I watched your recap, you had a lot of, like, valid critiques of the episode, many of which I'm sure we'll discuss today. But overall, did you think it was a good episode?
Yes, but I do I think now I'm just at the stage where when it's the Bet and Tina stuff, I'm just appreciating the time we have left and that they're together because I'm not gonna go in and I it, I actually really liked the proposal. Like I thought it was perfect for people that have been through all this mess and drama and things, which obviously we'll talk about like more later. But people like have this idea that we're gonna turn on an episode and it's just gonna be this 2-hour thing of Bettentina or 2 hours of Danny and Gigi or whomever you like, but I just am trying to go in with level expectations, and if I can sit there and watch the whole episode, not kind of look on the timer and see how long it's got left, think about, "Oh, I like this bit, I like that bit," then I'm happy because as well, like, I know that especially people like us that are going over the show so in depth and things, that there's some things that I'll talk about, like nitpicking things that other people are watching it, like, wouldn't even register. So, for all the little nitpicking and stuff, like, I do have to say when they do good, and I thought it was a good episode, especially considering, like, the last few episodes I really haven't connected with as much.
Yeah, like, when you told, you figured out that that clip Angie's watching is a Marja Lewis Ryan movie or whatever, that blew my mind. How did you do that? Oh my god.
Actually, yeah, Chris, who does Drinks at Dana's with me, she also it's not actually in the movie, it's like I recognize the actor, but Chris realized that they have actually taken, like, a scene and, like, changed the dialogue a little bit because she watched the movie then after we talked about it. So I don't know whether that was for, like, tweaking reasons for some sort of because you have to pay to
Copyright,
put that
yeah.
in there, but it must I'm sure Marja gave gave herself a good deal because you'll
How much do you think
you'll
she paid herself for that?
you'll notice they didn't use real clips of Grey's Anatomy, so I don't think that they can quite afford that.
That stock zoom in on the hospital hallway, I think I've used that one a time or 2. Okay, well, let's jump into the episode. Speaking of Grays,
Oh,
did you like the
okay.
way they tied it in? Are you a Grey's Anatomy fan?
Grey's Anatomy and The L Word are the 2 only consistent things in my life, like, loving those shows. That Grey's Anatomy The L Word and Grey's Anatomy basically came out both the year I moved to America, and, obviously I started well, not obviously, I started dating my first girlfriend, and, yeah, I still now the only thing that stays constant in my life is that I watch Grey's Anatomy and The L Word. That's it. Everything
Wow.
else.
Just this is just for me personally. Have you seen any of the episodes with the actor who plays Alicia on Sex Lives of College Girls, who's now on the cast, or is that not come out yet? Do you
I'm
know who I'm talking about?
yeah, 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 the blonde yeah. I maybe she's not they've not come out yet because I have seen every
Okay.
episode several times,
Okay.
unless I'm
I was
not
just wondering how
connecting.
she was doing. Okay. I know we're supposed to be understanding that Finley's worried about Carrie because of the heart attack, but all I could think through this whole episode, every time they were on screen, was that Finley's homeless. Like, I would be kicking her out so fast. Why is she being so controlling and ridiculous?
Yeah, I don't know what they were kind of going for with that too, because then at the end and it just was like a bit over the top maybe with Finley, because like Finley's quite like a relaxed, like not super control. That's more like a Danny thing.
Mm.
So maybe they're going through this sometimes when people get sober, it's like they're able to see things differently or like, tweak little bits of their personality. And then maybe like the trauma of Carrie and because that was like big I think they didn't make a big enough deal about that. Like it's also something for Finley. Like somebody doing CPR on someone is real like I've that's happened to me twice in my life. And it's something that you it's an adrenaline sorry, it's adrenaline high, but it's also just a really one of those things that you can, like, kinda spiral over, like, "What if you weren't there? What if this happened?" Oh, like, a lot of the time, you do really injure someone, like, cracking their ribs or whatever it is. So, yeah, I think they
Is that
maybe
what
should
happened to
have
you when you did it twice?
I mean, like, one person, like, did it was, like, a smaller person, so it's cracked their rib and there used to be this thing that people used to say, "Oh, you're not doing CPR right unless you crack their ribs," and that's not true. But,
Oh my god.
yeah, I mean, I've done the Heimlich on someone too in a restaurant.
Ash, oh my
Sure.
goodness. Wow,
So to
you're
have weird stuff following me.
wow. I was gonna say I've only done it on like one of those little dolls. I had to do a CPR class.
Oh, yeah. I've done so many and the thing is, they've changed it, like, 5 times in the past, like, 10 years about how
Mhm.
many breaths and this and that. I mean, everybody should do CPR certification, but yeah,
I
it
was
is one of
outed
those things.
during a CPR training.
What?
Yeah. This was
Oh
when I
my
was like
god, poor
kind of
trauma.
right? I was like kind of in the closet and it's I just like will always remember this moment of being at work and we're all in training and the trainer guy was like okay, so put yourself in a you're stressed out, you're in a stressed position. Do you have a boyfriend? And I was like girlfriend. And then everybody was like, "What?" You know? And then my coworker told me after that my boss took him into their office and they talked about how they didn't know I was gay because I looked straight passing. This is a long time ago, folks. But yeah, a little traumatic for
Oh
me.
my god. Yeah, that oh, when you start work at a new place and for the first few days, because weirdly in the UK, this I mean I've worked all my life in America apart from the last few years, but in the UK they use straight people use the word partner. So it gets even more confusing. And when people will be like, "Oh, so you have a partner?" I'll be like, "No." And then when you start getting into the area where and when you start getting into the area where you can't use you skirt around things and then eventually you have to say, and then people are always like confused. I've had oh god, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine too because that was, a long time ago for me. I do feel for my femme ladies in our community, especially I think people assume if you're femme presenting, you're straight, and so yeah,
Oh,
you
story
probably
of
have
my
to
life, literally.
uh
And it's always no, and I'm like, well, I think I would know.
No, they know, Ash. They'll
Yeah.
tell you.
I thought you had a husband. I was like, no. Some mysterious husband.
I liked that our reintroduction to Bette and Tina was them bursting into Angie's dorm room, and they're like, "Surprise!"
I was this why Showtime didn't do any promotion for like the 4 or 6 episodes they weren't in, so they could just go surprise in one episode.
They do love to surprise us, Ash, so
Yeah, well,
apparently. Now I know that I have a feeling I've heard you talk about this before, that you're like, "It's fine." I think you literally just said this a few minutes ago, like, "It doesn't have to be a 2-hour Bet and Tina movie." I gotta say, after a 6-episode hiatus, I was expecting, like, the Bet and Tina show.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm not a
yeah.
Timiter. I'm not even, like, obsessed with Bet and Tina. Or don't you think if you're, like, you've been waiting for this, but you are, and you weren't disappointed.
I mean, I there's always that thing that I'm like, "Oh, they didn't have a ton of screen time," and that was the number one complaint I definitely saw from people, and also, what kills me even more is that this episode was 46 minutes. They could have done it. They could have done it. They could have even just done more scenes at those 2 places, and I understand they're on very tight budget constraints, but also they cut stuff from this episode with them because, I mean, I know that they've cut stuff because of stuff that I saw when I was there and also that people have told me. But you can even see, the pictures that they release like a week or 2 before the episodes. There's pictures of them, like this one like standing up and like Bette's leaning really close to Tina. We didn't see any of that. So what, like, just why are you cutting it out of an episode that you Showtime have so much control? You don't have to allow, X amount of minutes for ads. And that just really annoys me because it's just for
Hmm.
no reason.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, was it a Jennifer Beals Laurel Holloman thing? Like they actually only had an even more limited amount of time with them than we know. But you're saying
I
no, it's
mean,
like they made
yeah.
terrible editing decisions.
Yeah, because they're cutting out the time and also the way that the L Word films, they film like 4 scenes per day usually, and the majority of the scenes were at, the sound stage for the inside Angie's dorm, and they went on location for the rest of the stuff for like the theater or auditorium, and when we're outside, and then the Frosty's freezer, they were at this place, that's a real place on Fletcher Drive, and it just makes no sense because they would have been at all these places with way more time. So, like, it's not like Laurel or which is whose time is probably restrained the most, like, she's going in and saying, "I have a day," and the way that they schedule and stuff is all done really, really well. So, it's just crazy that we know that they have the time, they have the amount of budget shots, whatever it is, because they've shot it, and then they've just taken it out of the episode for no reason.
Hmm. You mentioned Frosties being a real place. For me, part of the like slight disappointment was like, oh, okay, we see them. They're eating burgers. Tina's like, oh, do you miss LA? Not really. Um, and okay, where was the action? And the action is there. It's literally we see an engagement later on in the episode. Um, but otherwise, they're almost like side characters when it comes to the worst plot line of the season, the Angie and Professor plot line. And I get it, that's their daughter. They have to have some sort of resolution with them involved. But um, yeah, that was like half of their screen time in the episode was like them dealing with the Professor Angie stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know how much other people will agree with this or not, or even if this is actually intended, because this could just be in my head canon, because I have had my heart broken many a times the past seasons where I've been like, "This is the reason they're doing this," and then really they haven't even watched the original and they have no idea about these connections. They're just coincidental. So the thing that annoys me the most is like the absolute disregard sometimes they show to the original, because that is the whole point. Like, why wouldn't you just start a new show then? And they should be pulling threads from that series. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I think that Tina's, like, absolute explosion over that and Bette's kind of calm is related to maybe things that Tina has disclosed about, like, her past in the bloody interrogation tapes and things. So that would have been interesting because we knew in the by the end of the original that Tina hadn't told this to Bet. So maybe this is something that came up in their therapy with the being in Canada and they're in this good place and all this stuff. Like, maybe you could have used a scene or two to explore that instead of I feel like now they're just going along the lines of, "Okay, stop asking for it. We've brought them back for two episodes. We're giving you a proposal and everything that's gonna happen in the finale, and then we're done," because I have been told for a fact that this would not be happening unless people were so vocal about it because there's such engagement via social media for this show.
So they don't it sounds like Marjorie Lewis Ryan or whoever at Showtime, like, they didn't want to do the wedding, but, like, they're just doing it because of the fans, like, asking for it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, it's like we took them hostage and we're like, "You give us what we."
Well, Showtime, I think people also don't realize how much of a role Showtime plays in this because they are the money behind this. They see like they will tell them we want this idea, this, blah blah blah. They'll go away and write the episode, but Showtime okays everything. Like they will okay the script, they will get the dailies, which are like the little shots that they'll shoot on that day. They send them over and they will okay every edit, every like they won't let the episode air until it's been through like several rounds of them saying, "Yes, this is what we want."
Is that how every big, like, network show works?
Usually, yeah. It's I mean, so in the case of the original, where they in the beginning with Eileen when they gave her season 1, they obviously were like, "Ooh, we don't know if this is gonna work." So she had very little control because they even staffed her writer's room with like a lot of people they wanted in there. Like there was male writers in season 1 and she had really strong supports like Guinevere Turner and, you know, the Roses and all that. But then when it proved to be successful, she got a little bit more control in season 2, and really with season 3, they kinda were like, "Okay, go for it. You know what you're doing." And that I think most people agree that's when some, you know, wild decisions were being made. So that was more completely under control, but someone who is not only new to a showrunner job, but new to writing for television as a whole, like Showtime are the ones pulling a lot of the strings.
So maybe they need some of the blame. It's not just Marsha Lewis Ryan and the writers. It's like maybe I wonder if like but then also there's to me like when I not to constantly bring up Sex Lives of College Girls, but that show is so well put together in my
Yeah.
opinion, where everything's cohesive and I'm interested in everything. You know, uh it's more real, it's more grounded. I was talking to my wife yesterday and I was like, I think a lot of the I was we were talking about how like at first, when Dre popped up, I was like, "Okay, this could be a fun new character." But really now, my wife and I were like, I don't care. I don't know anybody who really cares that who's, like, really that invested. And I was thinking about how, like, oh, when new relationships pop up on the sex lives of college girls, I am invested,
Mhm.
whether I like them, I don't like them. I'm not like, "Meh," like, that's the worst thing, if you're Showtime, you don't want your viewers being like, "Meh, I don't care about this." And that's exactly how I feel about Danny and Dre. So
Oh,
how is
yeah.
it working? How is that process working to the sex lives benefit and not to the L word's benefit?
Yeah, it's I do totally agree with you about the sex lives of college girls too. And I originally started watching that show because I love Mindy Kaling, but it's really well put together, everything like that. But I've talked about this with a lot of people, and I would say that it ultimately comes down a lot of the time too to the casting of people. You have those people that just they're stars. Like Leisha Haley, Jennifer Beals, even Seppi, like, they stand out on screen, so that's, like, a really important factor, and then you also have just the character development and who they are. Like, if you went up to, I don't know, 100 L-Word fans, and you had them write down after only seeing 1 season what they know about L-Word characters, what they know about GenQ characters, or you just polled 100 lesbians who'd never seen the show, and you showed one group the L-Word and one group GenQ, like, what can you say about the GenQ people? Like, you know very little, or it's very, "Oh, Danny is rich," or something like that. But when you watch the original, like, everybody is so rich, and you like, not rich rich, like rich
Rich
in
in
development.
personality, yeah.
Yeah. And they have, like, even in the pilot, you learn so much about Bette and Tina, where they're at, how their relationship is, who they are, what they do. Alice, Shane, Dana's this famous tennis player that's in the closet. There's just so much to grab onto, and then you have that, and then package it with these great actors who have, like, wazoos of charisma, and you just don't get that on Gen Q, with the exception of Gigi, basically.
Yeah, who isn't on the show anymore. They metaphorically killed her off.
Yeah, and there there's an interview coming out next week with my friend Jess, where there's a little bit of discussion on Gigi, and just keep digging themselves.
Since you brought up Jess, I have to say, as soon as Bette walked into Angie's dorm room, the first thought that came to my mind was, oh, Jess is gonna lose it. They straightened Bette's hair. She's gonna lose it. But she's right. Bette's hair does look better when it's not straightened to me.
Yeah. It looks like next week we're getting good hair, so
Okay.
hopefully so.
Okay. Back at Shane's place, Tess is like, number one, no, I don't want to go to couples therapy. Number two, I have to go meet the towel guy at the bar expansion site. Is that what she says? Towel guy?
Tile.
Tile. Okay, sorry. It was my bad.
Towel.
Um, okay, did the cheating, our relationship hanging by a thread thing not throw like any sort of a wrench into the plans for the second bar? How is she just going on like nothing happened?
And, like, who opens a bar next to a bar? Like, your own bar next to a bar. And a lesbian bar too, like, so specific. It's insanity. It's insanity. Like, it's these things that it's the devil's in the details. The stuff with the OG being ignored, the fucking timeline, like, all that stuff. It's so fixable. I could send my cat in and she'd be on it. Like,
Miss G.
she's learned so well these past 3 years listening. She's ready for the challenge. Send her in.
No, honestly, send your cat in with like a little note on her collar that says like, "Oh, make it a music venue." Literally have anything that would work in
Anything.
congruent with an already established lesbian bar.
Yeah, and, the Tess, I don't know, Tess and Shane too. Shane is like a super observant person, and I thought there was several points in this episode where she was gonna say, "I know you've been drinking," but it's just like, in La La Land, no, nothing.
Well, I will say devil's advocate, and I learned this via your podcast, Drinks at Dana's. I think Chris was the one who mentioned that she like dated somebody and didn't know the whole
Yeah.
time that they were an alcoholic. Um, I'm the same way, but I was friends with somebody once who it wasn't alcohol, it was cannabis, but her partner didn't want her to do, and she once told me, she's like, "Oh, here's what you gotta do." She's like, "Oh, you gotta take some stuff, wipe your upper lip, get in the nostrils, get behind your ears, do a whole spray around, and then lastly with the mouth." Like she had this whole routine. I think that people can become pretty good. Now, Tess is not, we're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
seeing her do the routine. We're seeing her chug and go. And so I agree with you. I actually think, maybe because like white wine doesn't, I think, smell, so maybe if she's drinking white wine or something or straight up vodka, I don't know.
See, I do honestly, and like I've been on across the board lots of experience, and I think that's true. Like people can become very, very, and people you would never in a million years think have an abuse problem or something like that. But yeah, we're not being shown that. Like, no, I know a lot of people who are addicts. I've never seen anyone use mouth spray because you know what TV tells us? People who use mouth spray are covering up something
Alcoholics.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that like I would never I would chew gum if I was
Mm.
in my car or, going to a meeting or something. That's a normal sort of thing to do, but who like mouth spray? Like, it's not like 1986 anymore.
Yeah, do they even sell mouth spray anymore?
My dad has it sometimes, and I'm like, "Where did you get this from?" He's like, "The airport." So
Dads, they still have stuff from the '80s, like, they just never throw stuff away.
so I don't know, and just yeah, the things that she's doing and the behavior, like, it's like Finley last season where it was, you do not need to be pissing in someone's apartment to be an addict. Like people are I think it would have been actually more powerful if they had Tess all season behaving completely the way she was, and then they revealed that she'd actually been drinking. So like the audience
Yeah.
would have been
Yeah, that
fooled
would have been
too.
really interesting. Well, speaking of really potential interesting things, like, I think this show struggles, which is crazy, but outside of, cheating, I don't think this show knows how to make things interesting. I do think the
Yeah.
show struggles. And one thing I will say, devil's advocate again, is that at least this was like I was cracking up at the end of the episode when we're getting the music and Tess is like, "La la la," just like doing her own thing. I was like, "Okay, Tess, go on." Like it's not you being horrible and vile and like nonsensically mean or harsh. It's like kind of funny. It's dark humor, albeit very dark, but it's like I was like, "Okay."
Oh, yeah, and the thing I mean, I'm not gonna say my only problem because I have so many problems, but one of my biggest gripes with the test character is Jamie Clayton is so fucking awesome, like, she is so great, and why would you not tap into that personality a bit when you really I mean, like, I don't think when they wrote Tess, they planned on having her as like a regular by season 3. I think she was supposed to just serve
You
this
can
purpose
tell.
of yeah, being working in the bar, but why not flesh her character out a little bit with Jamie's personality? Like that's one of the perks of television that the actor that's playing them. It's the same person coming back week after week. It's the same person like the way Jennifer Beals and Laura Holloman have kind of created the characters along with the storytellers, and like I do believe there really is a very thin line between Bette Porter and Jennifer Beals now, and that line is lesbianism.
I was gonna say, I feel like I know what that line is. Um, yeah, how many times can we all say I think that there's like people who came into this as Jamie Clayton fans. I'm one of them. And how can you not be disappointed if you're a Jamie Clayton fan with
Yeah.
them? Like you said, they haven't fleshed her out. It's been, the alcoholic, and she's like kind of there almost as a prop for Shane, which terrible because Shane's not even doing anything either. So it's yeah.
I think the one of the problems too is that they when they're making this show, like, they exist in this bubble, and, I have people that talk to me that work on it and stuff, but that's only, like, one person's point of view telling me, this is what happens, blah, blah, blah," conveying very much, like, matter of fact what's happening, but they described to me when I was there that Tessa's character this season, it's a super interesting story. It's a super interesting season for Tess and her character and things. So sometimes I think, are they just lost in the source of the whole thing? Like, are they not really thinking about it critically? Or I mean, because as well, like, whenever we actually see it, it's months down the road, and they're thinking about the season as a whole also. They're not looking at our critique of episode 7, say. They're thinking, "Oh, well, they'll be okay when they get to episode 9 and 10," because sometimes they think, like, last season, most people remember about last season, the Bette and Tina cliffhanger. So, I think they try and, like, erase or, like, forgive some of, like, the past mistakes by, like, making up for it in these episodes, because 'cause you'll hear them a lot in interviews say, "Oh, I wish," if you've seen up to episode 5, they'll be like, "Oh, wait till you see this," or "Wait till you see," or whenever you get to episode 9 or 10, it'll and it I don't know, it needs to be it's chapters of a book, not like it
Right.
needs to all make sense
Yeah.
together, and that is one of, like, my top 3 issues all together is the lack of, like, narrative overall for a season and as a show, that it just if you looked at the 3 seasons and watched them all the way through, someone who'd never seen the show and didn't get any outside, like, social media presence and critiques, I think they'd be very confused, or if they watched episode 1 and even this episode, they'd be like, "What the hell is going on?"
Okay, interesting. Wow, you so I'm kind of soaking in what you just said there. And by the way, listeners, Ash, you famously got to visit the set this season, and so you have given us a lot of sort of behind the scenes looks at what's going on. It's interesting that yeah, it seems like some of the writers or people involved were really thinking like the fans are gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, like redemption, what a comeback for some of these characters like Tess." And we haven't, at all, so that's interesting to know. I always wonder, like, do they know what the fan reaction is? Do people working on the show like, some of the fans are really harsh about Marjorie Lewis Ryan, like, on Twitter especially.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's always gonna be, like, extremists on, like, either side, and I don't think it's ever right to attack people, like, personally. I just don't like
Agreed.
it's not one person making all these decisions too. Like, a lot of it is a collaborative thing, and you just don't know who made this decision, who made that, and again, like, the network makes a lot of those decisions. It's their money, but I I do know that because I have asked them, pretty much all of them, who a lot of people who work on the show anyway, that how involved do you get? And I know that they do read Instagram comments, like they get a lot of direct messages, and they are aware, more so like the writers and stuff. But I also think that maybe that's a probably a bad thing, because it's more critique than praise, that I think that sometimes that might drive some of their decisions. Whereas if it's even on the tiniest of scales, like even like us, if you tried to take any negative comment and tweak or twist or not do whatever they're saying, you'd
Mhm.
never make another video again. Like
Right.
you just and if you start doing that, then what's the point? Because it's not you, it's not your thoughts, like, that's especially YouTube, the whole thing that people like is the absolute raw personality, like, your actual real thoughts, because if you wanna know some professional take or something, then there's many people that get paid to talk about this show or other shows, or, write about it where they're getting a big salary and stuff, so and of course, all those people are saying these things where money's involved, or where, they know they can get a job with this person if they say this or that or that, and it's all about connect
You
like
you wouldn't be referring to, like, a podcast that is connected to the network, would you? I mean, okay, I don't wanna put you in the hot seat. When you said that though, it reminded me of how one time somebody commented on my YouTube channel, "It's really annoying every time you talk, just, like, I just wanna see the clips." I was like,
Oh my
"Oh,
god.
you
Yeah, I
just
get
wanna
those
watch
ones.
the show? Just watch the show."
I got one like 2 weeks ago, and they literally said, "You talk too much. I just wanna see the clip," and I was like, "Go watch that fucking show then."
They're like, "Can't you be my Showtime subscription?"
I know, please, I
Ashley.
don't. Oh, that infuri and it's so hard not to say anything, but
I know, oh my god, yeah, don't. Yeah, every once in a while, I'll, like, be a total B word back, and then I'll show my wife, and she'll be like, delete that, Amanda, you can't say that." "Okay,
delete it
honey."
immediately.
Let's see, Carrie and Misty, they are discussing more in this episode how they haven't gotten it on. Now for speaking of my wife, she was, like, kind of into them exploring, post heart attack Carrie, which I could see, but for me, I was like, "Meh." I would have rather seen Misty and Carrie's first date than have us fast forward to explore the aftermath of a heart attack.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Because this is it's like the whole thing with Bette when she was running for mayor, like, this isn't Grey's Anatomy, this isn't, like, some West Wing show, like, we're like, honestly, most of us are here for the women loving women, like, friendship stuff, like,
Mhm.
that is what the show is because there's a million great like, literally a million episodes of Grey's Anatomy to go watch Grey's
Mhm.
Anatomy and all these things, and I know it would be, like, a different angle because it is 2 women in a relationship and that whole thing, but yeah, I just wish they would come back to that. Like, this episode, they had Bette and Tina back, probably in the second to last episode they're ever gonna do. And okay, Shane was there, but like, where was Alice? A lot again, ostracized, not doing anything collaborative in any way. It wasn't like Alice was having her end of season show and she had to be there because it probably would have made more sense that, I don't know, when their friend of 30 nearly years is being cancelled, that they be with their friend. Like, are they all just
Yeah. So I have mixed feelings because I actually loved Alice's plotline this episode. Her in an evil Knievel uniform rolling around on a mini motorcycle just gave me life. I loved her meltdown. I was there for it. I know it was like a very fast Alice to Ellen, all of a sudden
I
like,
did
"Oh
like
yeah."
that.
But you're totally right also though. And so I'm thinking it's more of this like I'm just assuming now like it was logistics. They couldn't get all of the OGs together. They could only get Shane and them watching Angie's performance. But maybe that I'm giving them too much credit and it was actually they just chose to not have them go to Alice and spend time with Alice, which is I agree with you, like not the strongest choice.
Because, yeah, I hear a lot of people say like, "Oh, COVID's done." Like they when I was there, like, yeah, you had to wear a mask on set, but they've got this down to like a fine art. And all of these people, they're in what's called first position. So when you have like a contract as someone who works in like television, your show, like their main breadwinning show is the L word. So they basically in their contract say, I agree that the L word generation Q is my first position. So even if they get like, I don't know, some crazy, crazy like part in a movie, some huge movie, the L word generation Q takes precedent over everything else. So you're gonna see, I bet you soon they're gonna be pushing this angle that, oh, Seppi, wants to go and have this other career, or she got this other job or something. Uh-uh. They're all in first position to be in the show, especially the Seppi, Ari, all of them that were new. Absolutely. And that's why they're in complete control of what everybody's doing. Like, the only person I would say is the exception to that is Laurel Holloman because she's not like a series regular, and
Yeah, she just came back, like, as a favor to Jennifer Beals, right? That's what
yeah, she does have a she does have a con because last literally just before they started filming season 2, she signed like a multi-deal. That's why she's like the and Laurel Holloman at the end because,
okay,
she's they're like legacies in she went on another show, she went Grey's Anatomy, she wouldn't be and Laurel Holloman, it's 'cause she's like a legacy within this show.
interesting, okay. So, okay, a couple of things I got from that. Seppi leaving was, like, such a botch, she obviously should have originally they should have done everything they could to keep her, I don't know. But also I got that, like, no, they're making all these decisions, they totally coulda had all 4 of the OGs get together, and they just didn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's my opinion on my own stuff that I know about how these things work, and also from what people tell me. Am I the one making the decisions there on set? No, I don't, but that's the best thing that I can come up with.
Okay. What I don't wanna talk about them too much, but I do wonder, we get a quick scene of, like, Dre being a singer-songwriter. I thought this was a little dated. I was like, would
I
somebody
hated this
Dre's
scene.
age be writing in a notebook? Like, I don't know. Um, are we discounting people in the L Word audience, though? Do you think there are people out there who love Dre and are really into Danny and Dre?
I asked myself this question about a lot of characters, and because as well, like, I think it just depends, okay? As L Word, the entire amount of people that watch the show, I think there are definitely some, yeah, a small amount, probably. It's kind of that line between people who just watch the show or people who watch the show and consume, like, social media around the show. So, I do think there are some, but I don't think it's a anything large percentage-wise, and I just anytime I see them, it just makes me angry. I just like I just think, "This is what we gave up Danny and Gigi for? Like, are you kidding
Yeah.
me?"
For me, I feel like it's the symptom of of everything, which is like their MO. We don't know enough about Dre, and suddenly they're like this big. I mean, obviously, this episode portrays, in my opinion, that Danny actually doesn't see Dre as the big love of her life. I don't know, um, but yeah, I do think it would help if it was. It does feel very like shoved in. Some people online were saying it makes no sense that Sophie and Danny were fighting over Dre. They should have been fighting over, like, Kehlani, if Kehlani was playing that role.
Yeah.
But Dre, like, it's not as believable. I think the character has some issues.
Yes, 100%. I don't even feel like any connect like, you needed someone like, someone with Gigi's, like, charisma or something to be that part, and I just also think with the Danny and Sophie thing, all this episode proved is that it doesn't matter how talented, skilled, how much work you put in, like, what you're doing, all it matters is who you've slept with because that's how Dre got on TV.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh my god. Oh,
Brava,
wow.
L-word, brava. Just
Oh,
what we need,
wow.
the
What a
message that
lesson
we
to
need.
learn. Wow. See, when they decided to put Dre on, I was thinking, "Oh, yeah, if I'm Sophie, yeah, it's like, we got a karaoke machine back there. That's where Dre was discovered on the karaoke stage. Let's do it." Oh, yeah, that was and then they really, with the music, it was like a ballad that Dre was singing, and they were playing some scenes underneath it. Um, but yeah, the charisma is missing, I think.
And, like, what was the rest of the show? Like, it's the Alice show.
Can I just tell you, I was so confused the whole episode when Sophie was like, "I'm gonna save the show." They don't explain, they just say, that, oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Who's the host that comes in?
Margaret Cho.
Margaret Cho, yeah. They just say, "Oh, Margaret Cho's gonna host." But I was thinking that Margaret Cho was gonna host in the way that Margaret Cho hosted earlier in the season, and so I didn't automatically know that Alice was no longer in the show. And so when she's at her home looking for Piddles Jr. and they're still going on with the show, I'm like, "This is so unrealistic. How's she gonna get through traffic to get back to the show in 45 minutes?" I was confused the whole episode. Yeah, I think, you can't
Sorry.
save that 45 minutes if you're like, if you're actually Sophie and you have a live show, um, and you have I think you can get last minute guests, but if your whole host is canceled, how do you bring I don't know, maybe do you think that's possible? Could they
Oh,
have
no, no. In LA too? No, absolutely no way. Like, even just, like, traffic and, like, oh, lit these, like, sets, people have, like, totally unrealistic it's not like you or me where we literally, like, turn a and I mean, I know that it's completely different to television. Like, I'm turning a ring light on, turning the mic on, and turning the camera on, and talking and literally putting the chip in my own computer, uploading it, editing, it's done. Like, I can do it in one, few hours like I do with the episodes. But they literally have people on set who that Alice sign that's lit up, like the bisexual sign. Okay, so when I was there, Jamie Clayton was like, "Oh, you should take a picture by this sign, like, it looks really cool, da 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 da." And because we were sitting on the Alice stage in the chairs that Alice sits in for the interview, and so in the time that we got up from the chairs, walked down the stairs, and walked down the middle of the aisle, they turned the light off. And it was like a 10-minute wait to go and find the one person who can turn this light on because other people aren't allowed to touch the light. And it's a whole thing. Like it's really so there'll be someone like camera people or lighting or something, miking people up and like they'll have gone through run through like it's a whole palaver. It's not like, oh, we got 10 minutes. You get up there. Like,
we can do it. Yeah. Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't totally sure. That's awesome though that that Jamie Clayton was like escorting you around and you got to they did the sign for you and everything. That sounds really fun. One of my favorite scenes in the episode was Alice, Danny, and Sophie. And they bring back, you mentioned threads. The one thing they do this episode is they bring back an OG plot line of Alice, what's was it season 6, right? Or no. Which season?
season 5,
Oh, it's season
5.
5. Okay. Daryl, oh man.
Brewer?
Yeah, Daryl Brewer. In season 5, she and you actually replay this in some of your reviews of the episode. You found the clip from the original show, and I like completely basically forgot about this. But he's a famous athlete, and in the original show, he says a bunch of terrible things, homophobic things, and she like purposefully puts a clip out and outs him. Is that's like the gist, right?
Yeah,
Um,
because his teammate had come out and he was like and, it sometimes you forget because like, I remember that scene in my head, but they're, like, just all blatantly using, like, the F slur and stuff, and I was like, "Oh gosh," like, I just forgot about how
Yeah, that's anti-gay F word now is what we
yeah.
say. According to what was that, Danny or Sophie? But I liked this scene because they brought back an OG thing and it felt real. It was real, and as you mentioned, it felt realistic. This happens all the time with celebrities. Almost every day, some celebrity has had like old stuff from back in the day, brought back up, and it's like, oh my god, how did nobody notice this? Wow.
Yeah.
So it felt really grounded. I was like really interested in these scenes, and also I love scenes where you see both sides, and I totally identified with Sophie and Danny when Alice was like, "You don't know what it was like back then," and they're kind of like looking at each other like, "You can't say the F word anymore." I totally identify with Alice when she's like, "You don't know what it was like back then,"
Yeah,
because
me
I think
too,
it
me too.
probably was it absolutely was more horrific. I mean, literally from a legal standpoint, things were different. So I just thought it was like a really fun scene.
Yeah, and I thought it was really great that it was Leisha Haley too, because she was the one, like she was the only one that was out, and that was like the line that they trotted out anytime. Because like there was always like rumors and things about, and people, people want to dive into private lives all the time, which I'm not about that, but whenever they would get anybody asking a question, they would always just be like, Leisha Haley is the only out member of the cast, and that's why they have that like les girls joke in season 5. But yeah, I totally and I do sometimes I do feel that way when people act like, people that are a lot younger, they always just think like, oh, yeah, okay, it was a little bit harder because gay marriage wasn't legal or something. It's like, is to grow up in that environment where literally like all I was thinking about this morning for some reason, like people just used to use like lesbian or whatever gay as like a horrible
Mhm.
bullying that had nothing to do with like they would never say it to you, but if it was or to me, but like if it was somebody, it was just the environment that it was like, this is the worst thing you can be. So that's what we're
Yeah,
gonna
I
call
heard she was a
people.
lesbian. That's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
a thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So for people like me listening who I wasn't watching the show while it aired, I came out late in life and I discovered the L word later on. That actually surprises me. I had no idea that only Leisha Haley was out of
Oh
everybody on the
yeah.
cast.
So probably I think it was about the first 3 seasons, it was only Leisha Haley, and then I remember Laurel Holloman talked about being bisexual, and there's an interview, and I'm sure, like, they feel awful about this now, but Leisha was basically like, "You can't be a bisexual," because yeah, it was like, oh, I
What?
I yeah, I think it was because it was when maybe it's that's, like, too into their private thing, but I think it was around the time, like, there was a wedding or something, and somebody got married, and Alicia said something like that, but obviously, again, like, it was she would never say that today, obviously, it's different, and then there was an Advocate article around season 3 or 4 where Jennifer Beals actually outed Kate Moennig
Oh my
in the
god.
article.
On purpose or
No, no,
oh, okay.
accidentally. She was saying something like they were asking her the one question that they always just used to ask the L word cast, like whenever any straight media or any mainstream media, they'd be like, "Oh, like what's it like to kiss the women?" And it's for God's sake. And they said something like, "Oh, how do you feel about like the sex scenes, or how do you know what to do, or something?" And she was saying, oh, well, they get us like coaches, but if there's anything I'm ever unsure of, I'll go to like Leisha or like Rose Trochet or Eileen or Kate. And then the advocate was like, bingo. And yeah,
Uh,
they ran it. So
to be fair, I feel like a lot of people knew about Kate Minnick, but
it was like
no.
an open, yeah, like an open
But,
secret on the
yeah,
set.
that was not okay to out people, obviously. Even today,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
okay. Back at the poetry reading, we get some sweet Shane, Bet, Tina minus Alice time. Bella calls Shane the hot aunt to her face, and for a split second after, I don't know if you noticed this, but for like a half second after she does that, Shane's face lights up like a Christmas tree. She's like, "I still got it." We get the big spark moment from last week's trailer. Tina stands up at the poetry reading when Shane reveals to them Angie's professor that they're watching right now is also her ex or whatever. And Tina yells, "Hey, get away from my daughter!" Just kind of unexpected since you usually think of Bet as the fiery one. You noted, though, that this probably has a lot to do with their own personal journeys where, Bet this is another thing the show could have explored. Bet has her tryst with Nadia herself.
Yes.
So she's quite quiet when they're all she's like, "Oh, let's not be crazy here. Tina wants the guy murdered. Like, put him
Yeah.
on death." Like, she's like, "Arrest him. Call the police." You know,
Yeah, when they're outside, there's, like, this when Angie's, like, calling them hypocrites, there's, like, this look between, like, Vet and Tina, and I was like, "There's so many people that look could be about."
yep, yep. So many people. As you said, the entirety of the original L word. You also noted Angie yelling at Shane in your review, and I thought the exact same thing. When Angie like snaps at Shane asking
Yeah.
for asking why, Angie, why didn't you tell me? And that threw me off. Totally.
Yeah. I didn't think it really, like, lined up with the way we've seen their relationship because I did last week, I was like, "Why didn't she tell Shane it was the professor?" It didn't make sense.
But
I thought it
maybe I
was
was like,
strange.
you know how sometimes people are like if you've got like a little kid who's angry, they'll just like yell and throw and punch anyone.
Yeah,
Not that Angie's a little kid, but sometimes maybe she just couldn't control, like she was just angry at the situation.
yeah.
Um, what are those giant glasses on Bet? Are those hot or not? I can't decide.
Oh my well, if she had, like, a paper bag on, I'd be good with it, so
So anything Bet Porter wears, you're like, that's hot.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
it's
thought it
on.
was a little it stood out a little. I was like, "Oh."
Anyone else would look like an idiot.
I was like, "Are there lenses in those or are they just the frames?" They're just, like, so chunky.
Yeah, I think because she wears glasses quite a lot, so I think she has, like, a ton of pairs.
Okay, alright, so they're hot for you.
Because it seems when she looks far away, then she has to wear them.
Oh, okay. Alright. Probably my favorite line of the show is when Alice gets home right before she realizes Piddles Jr. is missing.
Oh.
Uh, and she and she has this line where she's like, um, "Oh god, not podcasting again. I can't go back to podcasting." I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, me too.
What is so bad about podcasting for Alice? It's not she needs the big stage lights now. She can't go
Yeah,
back.
she needs to have her face recognized.
She can't be a faceless lesbian celebrity anymore now that
Yeah,
she's, had the
she's got a
new
taste.
Also, we kinda skipped over her meltdown. I do have to play this. I did clip one clip because I just it as I said already, I'm just gonna play this one
I was
really quick.
trying to give a voice to all the queers, and they turn on me.
Have you ever felt, I loved that line of, "Just trying to give a voice to all the queers."
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like that? Like, "I'm just trying to give a voice to the gays," and you didn't.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god, all the time. And then when someone's like, "Stop talking, just play the clips."
Oh, I love it. Have you ever been in, a part of a conversation where people start making fun of, like, YouTubers or podcasters? Because I have.
Oh, well, now that I've been doing it a little while, like some of my friends will literally be like, "Yeah, Ash is on YouTube shouting about lesbians," and There's there's as well, I do have some really great friends and my sister and stuff. And the other day I was at I've put a video on my channel probably last year that was like showing my two like best friends, like 25 years straight ones, showing them the L Word pilot. And one of them just had a baby. And so now she's on maternity leave. She's using the time to watch the L Word. And
Nice.
when I was leaving, I was like, it was the day before the episode, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Ben and Tina, like, oh, they're gonna be getting engaged." And she was like, "What? Oh, what's happening? How are they not married already?" Because she's only on like the end of season one, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Oh,
just two." And she's like, "I'm only at the beginning of their journey," and I was like, "What a journey
you're
it
in
is."
for a ride.
But they because they'll, like my stuff, they were all having this conversation the other day about how all of Twitter now and Instagram is, like, giving them, like, lesbian content because they liked my stuff, and they're all like, "There's all these, like, people in my Twitter timeline that are, like, shouting about Bet and Tina and this and that," and it It's like all my followers, like, and they're like, one of them's like on their like, business account, and it's like, Bettina, I want to like, you know,
Oh, that's
bang
amazing.
Jennifer Beal.
Wait, are these friends, are they straight or
Yes,
okay, yeah,
like very
yeah.
straight.
Yeah, sometimes people find out I do YouTube videos and they're like, "Oh, I'd love to see your content." And after a family friend, like
Yeah.
unsolicitedly come up to me and was like, "I subscribe to your show. You curse too much. It's not for me." I was like, I'm always like now like leery of like, maybe don't. Just maybe don't subscribe to my channel."
Oh yeah, and I always get like sometimes because some of my r- really good clients will be like, "Yeah, Ash has like a YouTube channel," and then these like male surgeons are like, "Oh, I'm gonna check it out. What's the name?" And I'm like, "No, no, no."
Yeah. I also loved when Alice was using all of Piddles Jr.'s names. Like she
Yeah.
was like little PJ, and then she was like little PP. She called him PP.
I know, it's so cute. I love little PJ. It's such a cute name.
I know they were like totally pandering. I mean, they're literally calling it like after Dana's cat name,
Yeah.
but I don't care. Like, it works. I'm here for
Yeah.
it. Ash and I both famously cat owners and lovers. It's unique for a couple of lesbians to be into their cats. Um okay, we already talked about Shane and Tess, but I do want to say, was Tess trying to murder Shane when she throws the bottle
I think so.
drunkenly?
Yeah, it was real close to Shane's
She
head.
really does not want that salon. Like she really wants that bar. Like that's
Yeah, it's just so I would understand if they didn't have another bar like 5 feet away.
it's her dream, Ash. She needs two bars right next to each other. That is her dream, okay?
Very specific dream.
I think at the end, maybe Shane does realize Tess has been drinking. There's like a tiny look at the end when right
Mm.
after she throws the wine bottle where
Oh,
she's like,
okay.
did Tess just try to murder me? That's weird. I would feel a little certain something if my
Yeah.
partner, if a bottle was like, whoosh, hmm, maybe you're not
Maybe something's
sober.
up.
Yeah. Okay, it's time to talk about Bette and Tina's engagement.
Yay.
Yay! Now, this is one thing I know we're going to have differing opinions on. So, listeners, people watching, get ready for the fists. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. Uh, because I agree with you. Spoiler alert, Ash. I know that you liked this, right?
Yeah.
That was such a tepid yeah. I agree. I like that I do think it was realistic. I do think when you've broken up, gotten back together several times, and you're the age that they're age, I don't although maybe this is ageist of me, but I don't necessarily see her, hiring a parade marching band to come in front and a bunch of dancers do like a number and then like some ice sculptures come out and then like it's like will you marry me on the ice like I don't know that that would have been realistic but sometimes realistic can be boring and I just feel like I want both. I want realism and excitement. We haven't seen them for 6 episodes.
Yeah, I think the unrealistic thing for me was that Ed Porter would be ordering a double-decker burger. That's the issue I had. And but I did like the simplicity of it because I think that it's just proving what they've all gone through on this long journey that we've talked about because they are sitting there in probably like 10 grand suits each and they have like the fancy houses. They're super rich, successful. They both got amazing jobs, top of their career. They have the kid, the cars, vacations, everything. But it's like look at Bet when we see her in the beginning of Gen Q. Like she's running for mayor. Everyone, loves her. She's got even still like her great friends. She's rich, probably all problem solved, right? But she's miserable. In the end of the season one finale, when she's like on the couch, real sad and like down and stuff before her and Angie go like screaming on the thing. And then all the other points we see her in season one, she's saying like, "Oh, I used to feel alive when I was in love with Tina. Like that love made me feel alive." And all the other points that we just like see her be incomplete without Tina, because we see a lot of it from Bette's point of view. Like Tina says at the beginning of season 3, like, "I've always been in love with you." But we've it's always Tina we've had the question about. Like she's been with Carrie and it was always Bet like pining for her. That's I mean, like, yeah, she did cheat on her in the original, and I'm not making an excuse for her, but there was,
Yeah, they both cheated.
circumstances. So it's all that's always been there waiting for her to come back. So I do think it was important that like Tina did ask the question. And then I also think it was important that when Bet's like, "Oh, the ring," and haven't like, that implies that I had the idea first. And she says no, she's gonna like stand down about that. So I think those were all important points. But altogether, it had to be that simple with them, like, sitting there and just even at the end when, like, the camera is, like, panning and they don't even say anything at the very end, they're just sitting there because it's like, none of that other stuff matters if they're not together, because the only thing that really matters at the core of all of it is if they are together, because all that other stuff is meaningless. It's just like, not even really mm, they just don't feel complete or don't feel alive without the other one. So now that
But, like,
they're
what you just said, that was, like that captivated me. I thought, like, maybe we would get a little and I know we did episode 2, like and I'm a hypocrite because I
aren't
in
we all?
episode 2, I was like, "This is rushed. Why am I not as excited about Bet running through traffic? Because this is rushed." And now I'm saying
Yeah.
now they did the simple, non-rushed thing, and I'm complaining too. So I'm just a complainer. You can't make me happy. I'm like typical fan. Um, but also, what you like I'm saying what you just said, I do think it could have been for me, I would have liked what you just said, like, you really just described their whole relationship in a beautiful way. You mentioned in one of your videos they could have, I think you were talking about the next episode, the trailer for the next episode, but they could have given us some flashback footage in the engagement scene or I don't know. I
See,
think I
if it was up to me, I and what I just said and the flat and all that stuff, if I was in charge of this show, I would have written them to say basically what I just said, because I can say all that because I'm absolutely obsessed with this show and I talk about it like 19 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I have been thinking about that and, I'm spending time like sitting there thinking, what are the right words to put this into whatever. But the average viewer is just being like, "Oh, okay, I guess they're engaged." They're not sitting there making a YouTube video where they're gonna be going and also I've done my videos, I'm talking about it here, I talk about drinks and donuts. So I am like really, really going over it in a lot of detail. I've watched it so many times and I do think like a little speech or something. It doesn't have to be some grand, massive, like you said, dancing in the street with ice sculptures, but putting it into context because as well, I think that people really neglect that there are a lot of people that did not watch the original and have no intention of watching the original. And it's so hard for those people to be attached to Bet and Tina because they just like especially this season, literally they're in the first 2 episodes, they're supposed to have this. And from a Gen Q context, they've just had this rushed, oh, they were on the doorstep and then now they're together with this big gesture, then they disappear, and then I'm supposed to care that they're engaged outside like a burger place. So yeah. I think it would have helped a lot.
Yeah, I think, maybe instead of that, "Do you miss LA?" I don't miss it." Maybe we could have got your line about, like, you know, through after everything we've been through, I'm not, I just know I'm not happy when I'm not with you. And then something from Tina, like you said, to give us her. I cannot imagine if you didn't watch the original show how you're taking in this
Oh my
engagement.
god, yeah.
I would be like, "What the what? I don't what?"
I
I
would
feel sorry.
love to talk to someone who only has watched GenQ. I know Alex hasn't she's watched, like, a few of the original, and I know, like, she is not connected to Bette and Tina, like, at all. So I would love because there are so many people that aren't even aware because I've had people come in my comment section and been like, "Did you know there's this whole other show called The L Word?"
They don't know it's a reboot, huh?
No, like
Wow.
they one of them was saying in I think it was on Reddit, someone was like it was ages and ages ago that they I think it was maybe after season 2 or in the middle of season 2, and they were like, "Oh, they kept talking about these things that hadn't happened on the show, and I thought I'd missed an episode. And then I discovered this whole other show." It's like, Jesus
People are
Christ.
so they're like, "Kit? Who's Kit? Who what? Dana? Who's this Dana? Why am I supposed to care about the return of Dana?"
Who are these people?
Well, we come out of the beautiful engagement. It was very beautiful. They do still, of course, still have chemistry. Happy to see it. Love to see it. We come out of that and we cut to, and I don't know if you're going to disagree with this, Ash. For me, by far, hands down, no questions asked, the best part of the episode for me, the return of Tasha.
Yes, it was really good. I was really, really happy when I heard Tasha was coming back. Yeah.
I fucking loved everything about this. I have been hyping this
Yeah.
possibility up all season, and I was right. I was right. It wasn't just me. Everybody hyped this up. A lot of people did. This was to me. This scene just made the episode, and that's crazy to say in an episode where Bette and Tina got engaged. But I just loved. I don't know if it was Kate Moennig behind the camera directing. I don't know what it was. I mean, a lot of it is just Tasha coming back, but the way she's a hot fire lady now. Okay, okay.
I really liked the light like, the reveal for her too. Like, even though I knew it was coming, like, I loved the way they did that, like, the bright light, and then it,
Mhm.
like, illuminated the side of her face. It was really good.
Yeah,
Really
and then
good.
she's like, "Hi, Alice." Oh! And then Alice, I loved Alice's reaction. It was such a surprise. You think, "Oh, this is the L Word Gen Q. They're immediately gonna start banging in the street in front of all the firemen. That's how they do couples on this show. They just no time at all, just, oh, we're back together." But no, Alice was like, "Oh my god, that is so annoying." There was just sparks flying everywhere.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's the last we've seen.
I mean, okay, tell me this wasn't the greatest thing that's happened all season. Like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I
tell
did.
my grandchildren about this scene.
The Valentina stuff will always be number 1 for me, but I did love Sasha coming back.
I just think they have so much chemistry.
Yeah, I love Rose Rollins too. I think
Mhm,
she's really
great.
good.
The only thing is, how are they gonna fit more t you're kind of giving us some cookie crumbs here. How are they gonna fit more Tasha Ellis stuff in with a Bette and Tina all the Bette and Tina stuff for the finale?
I am cautiously optimistic about because obviously what I'm told a lot of the time too is I I'm told what people have read from the script or from what people have literally shot when they're working on the show. I don't see the edit and I don't know what's taken out. So a lot of the time there's things that I'm like, well, where the hell did that scene go? And or like, where did this line go or something? And I am worried that the synopsis for the final episode of the season, Bette and Tina's, and we don't know whether we're getting the show back. It doesn't have Bette and Tina in the synopsis, but
Why? That's
because
crazy.
they're insane. Because they're insane.
Oh, wow. That's
So
wow.
what I mean, this won't happen, but if I mean I know a lot of what they've shot, but the insanity would be if they lock Bettina in the freezer and then just like have the rest of the episode happen when they're like locked in the freezer, and then at the end they're like, oh yeah, they're in the freezer. Any other show, I'd be like, that's crazy. Like, they spent so much money and time and blah. And like Jennifer Beals, executive producer. But honestly, the only thing after 3 years of doing this, anything is possible on this bloody show.
Wow. Yeah, the fridge. You've been telling us about the fridge for several weeks now. And of course now we know, yeah, they're locked into a fridge. This better be a damn good fridge scene because I'm getting hyped on this fridge scene.
Well, yeah, I hope they don't cut too much out of this episode.
Oh god. But yeah, I
Yeah.
am a little not to be too nitpicky on the details, but I worked in several restaurants. Like all the restaurants I worked in, you could not get locked in a freezer because you
Yeah.
would like freeze to death.
Yeah. I worked in a lot of restaurants too, and that just
So we're just suspending disbelief for this locked in the freezer plot line?
to spend what I should have done when I started watching the show.
I mean, since we're talking about who is may or time getting cut, who may or may not be in the episode, what are your thoughts on the show within the show and then also in their, media outside of the show? Just no comment on Gigi being gone and Sepida leaving. Just mum's the word. What do you think they why did they make that choice not to talk about it?
Absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. And I know that they are going to use this line of basically people are getting other work, and but it's not that. Like, they're and obviously people are under contract, so they can't say anything unless the network gives the okay and things. I would be so angry if that happened to me, but like there's nothing really that you can do when you sign these contracts. But I think now, because it's to the end of the season, like they can't avoid it anymore. They're going to start doing interviews and things, and I think you will see them say, okay, like, she got other work or she's going on another show, and probably down this angle of, oh, it was harder for people on the original show to get work whenever they finished, working on the L word, which I don't know. But they're also not going to address it directly. I know what they're gonna do. They're just gonna like skirt around the issue, and
Just like
that's
my family, just sweeping it under the rug anytime anything controversial happens.
yeah, yeah. That is the wasp way.
Okay, well, listeners, you heard it here. Just know that it's all bullshit when you when you hear
Yep.
so I know that the latest word on the streets is we're actually probably maybe not going to get a fourth season after all. If that's the case, how do you feel about this next episode potentially being the last time you'll ever watch a fresh L word Gen Q episode or just L word?
I know. I mean, ultimately, I did in the beginning, like, I was told they were thinking, "Yeah, we'll probably get another season because they went kinda back and forth, like, when at the before the show came back in September, when I was mostly aware of what was going to happen this season, and the whole thing that Jennifer Beals wasn't gonna be in as many episodes and everything like that. When I was told about that, they basically said, "Ooh, they don't think that they're gonna get another season because of blah, 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 these decisions, and the show's so expensive to make, they wanted it to go to Vancouver, blah, blah, blah." But then around episode 2, 3, they were like, "Oh, the ratings are good, da, 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 da." But now, the recent thing that I've heard is that that just everything has been way down rating wise. I mean, Showtime only cares about signups, but still, like apparently it is like significant. So that means that those people probably won't, they might not continue their Showtime subscription. But for all I say, and even if there was a fourth season, I wouldn't cover it in the same way that I do now. I'd still do reviews and I'd still all that stuff, but I wouldn't to the extent that I do. And the one thing that I have never said is that I want the show to be cancelled, or I want the show to not work. Like, even if I'm not covering it in such in depth, then I still wanna watch the show. I still want them to keep making it because it's our show, it's our voice, and we really don't have a lot of other things. And if Kate and Leisha are still on it. I still absolutely adore Alice and Shane. I would have loved if Gigi was still on it, and Danny and Gigi, and I think that's where they really dropped the ball because, yeah, even if Jennifer Beals and Laura Holloman left, if they still had Danny and Gigi, they'd probably be pretty good. And honestly, I'd be really upset when the show goes. It will still, like, obviously be able to rewatch and talk about it and everything, but it's not gonna be the same because even though there's still that core group of people that even a month after the show's ended in between seasons, when it's the least amount of people are following and stuff, there's still a lot of people that come and interact and want to talk about the show and rewatch and what's coming up. But it's not going to be the same, and that's sad because that's less LGBTQ people coming together, having a voice, going to those watch parties, going and talking to people on YouTube, Discord, whatever it is, because there's so many people who I know on my channel, commenters, who now they have like friendships with other people, and they're even like meeting to watch episodes together, and that's so nice. And that kind of transcends the show. And if it really, really does have to end, that's why I'm so excited to go to LA and like watch the last episode like in a room with all other people who love the show. So
That's gonna
it's
be
gonna be a
epic.
sad day. It's gonna be a sad day when the
Sad but
when the L
epic.
word ends. Yeah.
But I think it's kind of telling when you say, "Oh, I'm not gonna cover the show the same way if it comes back." I think that's like, ooh, that's a little, if even we as commentators, if we're already anticipating if they come back, we're not like that's probably something that's going through their head, like, and also going through the fans' heads. But you did mention the subscription thing. That's something I learned from you that like really enlightened me. I've never thought about how, well, the streaming game isn't the same as cable because all they care about is subscriptions. And when I think about
Yeah.
all these women loving women shows that are getting canceled, or even, we still haven't heard about League of Their Own getting renewed. When I think about it, I think like, no, I didn't sign up to Amazon for League of Their Own, and I probably won't cancel it if they don't renew League of Their Own. With Showtime, I have no other reason to be subscribed to Showtime. Like, once they cancel L Word, I'm gone. I've never watched a single other thing on Showtime except for L Word. Although, which is Work in Progress on Showtime. I did watch Work in
Yeah.
Progress,
Yeah. I I
but
watched I watched Dexter on there, but that's the thing that like a lot of people don't understand too is the fact that because the people who watch this shows on Showtime are like Dexter and Billions, and it's such a different group of people that watch those shows. Yes, of course, there are some crossover, but they have such an influx of people for the L word. So that's how that show is allowed to be made. Like, if the L word was some lesbian show about politics or about, I don't know, like a serial killer or something, it might not have the same reach, but because it's such a diverse, different group for the audience, it is boosting those Showtime subscriptions. And because this is what Showtime has said, like people who work at Showtime have said to me anyway, is that the show is extremely, extremely expensive to make because they shoot in LA, but also it's a big cast, they have all these sets, etc. But it is one of the shows, actually probably the number one show for them via social media and like social media interaction. Because if you even look, like go to any of the actual Showtime, not Showtime the L Word, that account, whenever they put up like questions or like would you rather, and they'll put like four of their shows, if you go to the comments, it's all L Word people, like mostly saying Bentina, but it's
Are you
announced now
saying
it's
the
Danny
people
and
obsessed
Gigi.
with Dexter aren't on Twitter tweeting constantly about their obsession with Dexter the way the L Word fans are?
Yeah.
Like, what is he not a hot heartthrob for the Dexter audience, and they're not constantly look at how hot Dexter is murdering this person.
So funny.
Well, Ash, I'm excited to have you over here in the States. I wish I could join you in LA, but I will
Yeah.
be with you in spirit.
Woo!
So that's gonna be exciting though. I'll be like just obsessively on your social media, living through you vicariously. But listeners, make sure you're subscribed to Ash's channel, which is in the description. Drinks with Dana, or Drinks at Dana's, sorry, which is in the subscription. I'm also gonna leak Ash's merch. She's got new L Word merch that's really cool. Yeah, check it out. I really like that shirt. I like
Thanks.
the style.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
been down.
make sure you are hitting the description, and if you're listening to this, there's like a chance you probably already are subscribed to Ash. But just in case, a lot of times I listen to people and I didn't even notice that I wasn't subscribed. Just in case, make sure you subscribe to Ash Silver. Also, if you're watching Lescast on YouTube, subscribe to Lescast. I'm still trying to hit that 1,000 subscribers, so hit the subscribe button. And I will see you back here for the Lescast finale recap. That is sure to be explosive or
Yeah.
cold. That was a refrigeration joke. Ash, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Bye.